Hello and welcome to Speed Cafe's preview of the Italian Grand Prix, proudly brought to you by the Ford Ranger Raptor, three-time winner at Fink. F1 heads to the legendary Autodromo Nazionale Monza for round 16 of the 2025 season, as the championship battle between Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris continues to dominate the headlines. Monza, the 5.793-kilometre Temple of Speed, is famous for its long straights, slipstreaming battles, and the passionate Ttifosi. It is one of only two races on the current calendar to have appeared on every single edition of the Formula One calendar, the other being, of course, the British Grand Prix. And every edition of the Italian Grand Prix has been held at the Monza circuit, with the exception of the 1980 race, which was held at Imola. There's absolutely no doubting Monza's place in the history books of Formula One, with the circuit's history and atmosphere making it an absolute jewel in Formula One. One thing that people love about Monza is the racing that happens at this circuit. The pole-to-win ratio at Monza is the third lowest on the entire calendar. Only 34% of races at Monza have been won from pole position, and this track is only lower than Azerbaijan and Miami when it comes to pole-to-win ratio percentages. Another low percentage at Monza is the chance of a safety car intervention. Now, after 3 safety cars in Sunday's Dutch Grand Prix, there's only a 31% chance of one happening at Monza this weekend, also the third lowest on the calendar, meaning it's all down to racing, slipstreaming, and fast cars when it comes to the Italian Grand Prix. Speaking of the Dutch Grand Prix, Oscar Piastri comes into this round having won that race last time out. His first ever career Grand Slam, on his way to his 7th victory of the season and 9th of his career. And most importantly for Oscar, 34-point lead now in the Drivers' Championship after the late race retirement of his number one rival and teammate Lando Norris sets him up for 9 races with all the pressure still remaining on his shoulders. Now, 34-point lead is a pretty significant one at this point of the season, but it is not completely insurmountable. In 2012, Sebastian Vettel had a 39-point deficit to overcome to Fernando Alonso with only 7 races remaining, and he successfully did so. And the German also overcame a 31-point deficit with 6 rounds remaining for his first World Championship in 2010, meaning that every single point in the remaining 9 rounds, just like they are at every single race throughout the season, is going to be extra crucial for Piastri, as he aims to become Australia's first world champion in Formula One since 1980. The 24-year-old will also be hoping to create a bit of extra history for himself by becoming only the second Aussie to ever win the Italian Grand Prix. Can you believe that only one Australian has ever won in Italy? That was Daniel Ricciardo back in 2021, of course, his last ever F1 victory and his only ever win for McLaren. That happened 4 years ago at this track. So Piastri hoping to join Dan as an Aussie winner of the Italian Grand Prix. Lando Norris, though, will be fighting back with a vengeance this weekend in Monza after that engine failure. 6 laps is all that remained in the Dutch Grand Prix before his Mercedes engine gave way, and he'll be doing everything in his power to not only beat Oscar, but to try and bridge that gap in the championship in the final rounds remaining. And while Norris hopes to bounce back from that Dutch Grand Prix disappointment, Isaac Hadjar will be doing the opposite. He's coming into this race full of confidence, having secured that famous podium only a few days ago at Zandvoort. Now, this is a circuit with a long storied history for his team. Of course, Sebastian Vettel won his very first Grand Prix in 2008 when the team was known as Toro Rosso, and Pierre Gasly won his first Grand Prix here too, of course, back in 2020 when the team was known as Alpha Tauri. Can some of that history work for Isaac as he seeks another podium this weekend? Watch this space. And one space people will always be watching when it comes to Monza and the Italian Grand Prix, it's Ferrari. The Ttifosi, of course, will fill the grandstands with everything red, although a tinge of blue this weekend, given the new line of merch that dropped this week for Ferrari and the tinges of blue and the throwback to the Niki Lauda 1975 winning championship car. They're hoping to bounce back their first double DNF since Canada in 2024 Ferrari had last weekend out in Zandvoort, and returning to the scene of a famous 1-2 victory 12 months ago. We know Ferrari like to bring a Monza spec car generally every single year, so keep an eye out for them to challenge Oscar and Lando for victory this weekend in Italy. Another Italian story to keep an eye out this weekend at Monza is hometown favourite Kimi Antonelli. Now, he was involved in Ferrari's double DNF last weekend in Zandvoort, taking out Charles Leclerc. So he'll be a little bit of an interesting one to watch this weekend. Home fans no doubt cheering for him, but also maybe a little bit angry that he did take out one of their beloved red cars only a few days ago. So keep an eye out for Kimi when it comes to this weekend. And while you do think of the Italian Grand Prix and all things Ferrari, they do hold the record for most victories at the Italian Grand Prix, 21 in total. And that's ahead of McLaren, who have 11 victories at the Italian Grand Prix, and Mercedes third overall. They have won 9 times in Italy. One name we always seem to mention in these previews, asking when is he going to get that elusive first podium for Ferrari? It's Lewis Hamilton. He holds the equal record for most victories at the Italian Grand Prix. He has won a total of 5 races in Italy alongside Michael Schumacher, although Hamilton has not won the Italian Grand Prix since back in 2018. No matter which way you look at it, Monza promises an exciting race. It's always a great Grand Prix when it comes to the Italian Grand Prix. There's high-speed racing, slipstreaming, and strategic battles that always make this one a spicy race no matter which way you look at it. And with Piastri now extending that championship lead, Norris looking to fight back, everything and anything can happen this weekend, and throw in those spicy Italian fans to cheer on their beloved red team, and you know it's a recipe for an absolute barnstormer in Monza. And if you don't want to miss a single bit of news, result, or anything else from the Italian Grand Prix, you know where to keep tuned to, right here on Speed Cafe.